All right, everybody, welcome to another week of the Save the Extreme podcast. This is for the week of June 27th, 2021. It is time for another discussion on game design and industry topics here. I am Josh Bycer from Game Wisdom, and joining me, my co-host from Nexus Games, or that's going to be a new title at some point, Sharky. How are you doing?
I'll be better once we get us a new name for our company.
Mm-hmm. So at some point, you're going to see a different logo in the bottom right of my stream for this.
Yep, and in the bottom right for mine too.
Mm-hmm.
For the bottom left, really, for mine.
But we have another interesting topic planned for today, and hopefully we'll get some discussions here and on the comments. But our topic this week is going to be on achievement design. And achievements are one of those things that, depending upon who you talk to, is either one of the most important things in the world or something that you despise and you never want to have in your game. So, I guess to start things off, for you, Shark, what do you think about achievements?
I think there's other people in there that just don't care. And that's kind of where I fall into. At least for the consumer side of it, I don't care. The only thing I care about on achievements is like a few select games that I have that I really, really enjoy and I play so much of. And it's like, I have all but like 5 or 6 of those. Wouldn't be bad if I got rest of them. I might actually put forth the effort to get the last few. And, but like just to say that I have all, but I have basically all of them already, but just a little bit of completion kind of thing. And I've never done it, but I've thought about it. So but otherwise I don't care at all on the consumer side. Now on the development side, that's a different story. I definitely care. Because you need to make your achievements good. And achievements are a possible good way, not a necessarily good way, but a possible good way to monitor progress through your game. But it's only that way if you set up your achievements so they can be done that way. And that's how I set mine up, but I didn't do them for that purpose. I did it to sort of evenly spread out the achievements so that nobody would get like 500 achievements at the beginning and like none in the late game, or 500 in the late game and none in the early game. I wanted it to be sort of evenly spread kind of thing, which actually, inadvertently gives me a good tracker of how much progress each person has made kind of thing.
And like with your example, that kind of represents the like two major designs when it comes to achievements that we see from a lot of developers. And what is normally done is either kind of progress based achievements, like, hey, you load up the game, you get an achievement. Hey, you beat stage 1, you get an achievement. You beat stage 2, you beat stage 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, so on. And then there are kind of like the specialty achievements, the ones that you have to actively work towards to get, such as, complete the entire logbook, fully upgrade your character, get the super rare extra final ending achievements. And the reason why this is important is that different kinds of achievements will often attract different people to play it. Like the super hardcore achievements, your casual audience is never going to do those. Like the Spelunky 2 Get to the Cosmic Ocean, the vast majority of people are never going to get that one, and they'll probably just going to throw up their hands and say, no, I'm done with it. But you're always going to have the hardcore minority, the people who want to push forward in your game. And going back to what Shark said about kind of using achievements as a way of tracking, This is a way of how you can kind of track what percentage of your fan base is the most dedicated. And typically, what we see from a lot of games, especially those that have a hardcore following or hardcore base to them, it's usually like around like 10% or less is like the super hardcore. The people who are going to push through to the final fight. The ones who are getting 100% of all completion and all secrets. And the reason why this is important, why you need to know this as a developer, is that you need to understand what is your audience actually thinking of your game. Because people can tell you, oh, your game is perfect, don't change anything, but if only 5% of the people are actually beating your game, something is not connecting. There's a disconnect somewhere there.
Yeah. And the when you track the numbers kind of thing, like actually let me do something else. One thing I hate about achievements is when certain games require you to do nonsensical bullcrap.
Mm.
And I'm sure they don't mean to, but they do it anyway. It's like I have 100% of this game. I have done every bit of content this game has to offer, but I have 10% of the gold required to get this last achievement. You know, I have done everything. I have 100% of the game, and I think, like 2 million gold kind of thing. But to get this achievement, I need 100,000 gold, 100 million gold. It's like, what the heck?
Mm-hmm.
Does the developers even realize that you cannot get that kind of money in this game? Do they think money in this game grows on trees? I mean, and like achievements like that. It's like, it's like you grind you go through the game, you 100% it and everything, and you end up at level, 42,
Mm-hmm.
doing all the content of the game. And then it's like, get to level 99. It's like, really? Well,
Mm-hmm.
get me some content to get me to level 99 because this ain't happening.
Yeah.
I
And
ain't going to grind on a game that I have already 100%ed, kind of thing.
yeah. Now, what do you think about the achievements that are kind of similar to that? The ones that kind of force you to play the game in a specific way to get them. So, an example would be like the one free bullet from Half-Life 2 when we play that, or I think it was episode 1, that you can't use your gun at all and beat episode 1 of Half-Life 2. Or like the Noam Chomsky achievement from Half-Life 2, I think that was episode 2.
I can see certain people liking that,
Mm-hmm.
but I personally do not like that at all. Anything, I think, personally, I think any achievement should be achievable without going out of your way and creating a new save file or a new this or a new that kind of thing. You should be able to do it in the game you're playing right now. It shouldn't be, like that kind of thing bothers me. But, I can see like hardcore people really liking that because the fact is it's like, hey, this is an achievement that says I actually achieved something. Where,
Mm-hmm.
most achievements don't actually say you achieved anything. But the thing is, nobody's going to care except for the person who really wants it. And maybe, a few other hardcore people, but otherwise nobody's going to care if you get that certain achievement.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that the only way I think people would really, really care about that is if every achievement was like that.
Mm-hmm.
In which case, you're making a very, very hardcore game.
Mm-hmm.
And you're focusing it on the hardcore, which means that you need to focus your demographic on that, which means that you probably can't make money on that game.
Now, Aloro, I think, left a really good point about Prey. And one of the things that we see some developers do, like going that route of unique or different achievements, is using it as a way to kind of teach the player to do something or try something different. And I think the example that he mentions, if I remember right, you could play Prey no, excuse me, no, what are they called again? Oh no. The name of the things that you would inject yourself with and get your crazy powers. You could play the game Plasmids, or is that Bioshock? No, I'm confusing all the emergent games there. But
Mm.
you could play Prey Typhon, thank you. So no neuromods, Typhon only, human only. And so those three ways are legitimately three different ways of playing the game. And I think that, like, to me, I think that's a good example of having interesting achievements. Like, if you give the player, or you try to motivate them to do something different, but if it goes like too far, like if it's okay, I want you to stand on one foot, do hopscotch while playing tic tac toe, all while you have to do it at the right proper time of day, so the shadow of the sun hits you, and there's a 0.75% chance that all this will happen, and we're going to give you an achievement for it.
Yeah. The issue with that is that's not applicable to pretty much every game out there. There's
Mm-hmm.
only a few games that could actually pull something like that off. Because, like, you know, I mean, how are you going to pull that off in an RPG, or JRPG in your terms? How are you going to pull that off in a first person shooter? You
Mm-hmm.
know,
And that's why you need
you you
achievements.
you you could possibly pull that off in a roguelike,
Mm-hmm. And this is
but
why you need achievements that match what is going on in that game. Like playing an RPG or a JRPG and having a challenge, beat it level 1, do no leveling whatsoever and beat the entire game. I'm sure somebody will be able to do that. And that one or three people of your entire community who enjoy doing that, they're going to appreciate that achievement. For a lot of other people, they're just going to be looking at you going, what the hell is wrong with you?
yeah, except for it's not possible in most games unless you can just avoid all encounters because every time you fight, you gain EXP and gain the
Yeah.
level. It would be running from the enemies the game. And of course, if it's not possible to run through the game without that, then you wouldn't be able to nobody would be able to achieve that.
And this is, I think, another thing that we talk about when it comes to good and bad achievement design. Because one of the things that we've seen, especially as kind of the rise of speedrunning and speedrunning culture has come into play, is the idea of just completely breaking games. And we're talking about, sequence breaks, just completely demolishing titles to beat them as fast as possible. And you have to be careful when you're coming up with your achievements in terms of who is exactly going to play your game. While it may sound great to appeal to your super hardcore speed run, the 5% or less of your fan base, you also have to understand that achievements for the people that it means something to, you're going to kind of drive them away if you make your achievements too impossible.
Hmm. And I like a good spread of achievements going around, like I did in mine, because with that, you're able to track progress a lot
Mm-hmm.
better. And you'd be like, okay, well, X amount of people were able to get past this point, X amount of people were able to get past this point, X amount of people were able to get past this point. But this point, man, that percentage went way down. What is in there that is causing them to do
Mm-hmm.
it? You know, is there too much grind in that section? Is the fights too hard? Does the art go to hell in that section? Does what happens in that section to bring them down, kind of thing?
Mm-hmm. And this is why, even if, as a developer, you don't care about achievements in your game, they're still kind of useful to have. Even if you just go for, the bare bones beat level 1, beat level 2, beat level 3, and so on achievements. Because you can use this to track. And when we talked about completion rates in video games, this was an earlier Save the Extreme because I think it was from 2020. We looked at how you can see the drop off, even in the most popular games, even the games that people say are game of the year winning 10 out of 10, these are the best titles you've ever played. You'll often see it go from 100 to 86 to maybe 65. And what we typically see in these games is there is a stabilizing effect, or there is a point where the achievements stabilize, and then maybe it goes at like 47, 46, 45. But you're always going to be losing people. And your goal as a designer is to try and, stem that bleed for as long as possible.
Yeah. And the I I don't know if this is true, but I suspect this is true, that the slower bleed rate you can get off of that,
Mm-hmm.
the more people who will buy your next game.
Maybe. Because again, the more people who are playing your game and enjoying it, most likely, if they enjoy game A from you, they may buy game B from you. And
Hmm.
if you, this is what we say again about, the super hardcore, that if 5% of your fan base are the only ones who are saying don't change anything, your game is perfect, and 95% of your player base is quitting your game, there should be a red flag going off somewhere in your mind.
You sure it's not a purple spotted polka dot camouflage uh invisible flag that nobody can see,
Because
so therefore it doesn't exist?
every game is easy, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And then yeah, and like Tolgo's comment, like the ridiculous ones, like that level. Again, it's very hard because achievements are definitely a form of psychological manipulation when it comes to game design. The idea of completing it all. When I spoke with Jamie Madigan, who talks about psychology and games a lot, we discussed the motivating factors of what can drive somebody to play these games. And like we said, for some people, they despise achievements. For others, they don't really care. But there's going to be that audience that wants to get those achievements, or the achievements themselves can be a form of progression or motivation to get somebody to keep playing your game. And it sounds, I think, very hokey when we say that. Like, for both of our audiences, we know we have hardcore gamers, we have people who study and play games for a living, or play them at that level. So, like, for us, the thought of replaying a game 10 times to get some super rare achievement, it's not really working for us. But for general consumers who are looking for that little extra push to, keep playing a game, really good achievements or really good lists of achievements can be that guide for them.
Yeah. And here, there's two things I want to talk about here.
Mm-hmm.
Um, one being how to make your achievements actually good, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and another of how crap. Well, let's just talk about the first one. So when I say how to make your achievements good, I mean what, not necessarily what the achievement is, but how to make the achievement itself good.
Mm-hmm.
You know, make it wanted, make it add to the game. And, if your game fits it kind of thing, a funny joke as, as part of the achievements because, I know Josh has reacted to that a few times. I've reacted to that. I put them in my own game to
Mm-hmm.
where you get achievement and you chuckle a little bit, it's it's just this entertaining. It's this extra step of entertainment that you get from getting that achievement. And if you can, entertain people when they get the achievements, that's going to add to the game rather than just be like, I got an achievement. It'll make people care more if you have that in there.
Mm-hmm. And again, that's what we were talking about earlier with when you can tell when a developer, you know, takes that second step when it comes to caring about achievements with their games. Where it's not just you beat stage 1-1, you beat stage 1-2, and that's the name of the achievements. And it is harder to do that, but I do think that people notice that attention to detail. What do you think?
I think they do. I think you can also combine the two
Mm-hmm.
because, like, it's very hard to make every achievement like that. But if you can make, I don't know, 20-30% like that, I think that'll do a good job.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously, the more you can do, the better. But like certain achievements aren't really, able to do like that. You know, um, let me get some examples here.
Hey, Soren.
Like like in my last game, for the when you got amount of gold, we had piggy bait savings, holy smackers, and Uncle Moneybags. you know, killing two enemies at one time. Two birds with one stone. And deal a final blow to 6 enemies in a single attack. The name of that achievement, I swear it was an accident.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. Like, there's obviously ones that I could not find anything, entertaining to go with, but I tried to make every one of them as entertaining on their own as possible.
Mm-hmm. And one thing that I want to talk about is like kind of how some developers will integrate the achievements into the game. And when we talk about achievements, a lot of people will think like the Xbox list because originally like kind of like the first formal use of achievements in games came with the original Xbox. But developers have been having these little ways of having achievements built into their games for years. One of the more common aspects, and we see this in a lot of casual games, is having literally like a challenge or a trophy page. And the page fills up every time you do something, get all the puzzles completed, beat level 5, see the ending. And the reason why this is important is if you want your achievements to really kind of push the player, there has to be something tangible attached to them. And for some people, having it on your Steam listing or on your Steam page, that's motivation enough. But
Oh, that reminds me of what the other one was.
but if you really want to motivate somebody, it's always good to think about how they factor into the game space itself.
So the other one the other point I mentioned earlier that I could not remember was this little feature in Steam that if a consumer, if somebody playing your game gets all of your achievements on Steam, there's this special thing that they get on their Steam page, which they can feature any one of those games that they've gotten all the achievements on their Steam page, and that gets you extra marketing. So anybody who visits their Steam page will be like, "Whoa, this guy got all the achievements for and selected this one game." It may be. I don't know what it's called. I don't remember, but maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But they feature it on there, and you can only feature one on there. But like, if you make it where all your achievements are reasonably achievable, not like easy, but reasonably, and you make it a good game kind of thing, and they decide to feature it on their profile, then you get extra marketing anytime, that extra exposure anytime somebody goes to their Steam page. And the more people that you can get like that, the better, So that's a thing to both make your achievements achievable reasonably. Don't expect somebody, to, after they 100% the game, to go back and just grind for 5 hours, 100 hours or whatever. And, make it where, over the course of the game, if they're going to go and get all the indies kind of thing, that by the time they get all the endings, they got all the achievements. And if you can do that, then you can, then design your game in such a way that you try to get a higher and higher percentage to the end to get that full achievement list, so that you can get more marketing and exposure on your game, which then increases your sales. So not only do you get the advantage of, more returning customers, but you have those returning customers promoting you more, and therefore bringing you more new customers, which can end up creating those into returning customers and having them promote more. And it's this endless domino effect, basically.
Mm-hmm.
It's a ever shrinking domino effect, but it's a endless domino effect that goes on forever. Mm-hmm. And the more you can get people through, and the more, and if you set your achievements like that, the more you can sell your game.
Yeah. And if you can keep people motivated, that's kind of the point of achievements, is this idea to keep them motivated and invested to play your game. The longer they play your game, the more likely they're going to be enjoying it and wanting to keep supporting you. The thing you don't want as a developer is for somebody to load your game, play for 5 minutes, and then quit or refund it. And for a lot of developers out there, like we've said, you have to be really careful when it comes to understanding what you did right and what you did wrong in terms of design. And as we've said, with using achievements to track this, you can see how much your audience is actually playing your game. And we've said this before, that there's a lot of developers who don't understand, or they ignore when people have issues, or they say that, oh, because we have difficulty settings, our game is immediately accessible and everyone's going to love it. But for a lot of these games, they will often have very poor clear rates, or they'll have massive bleed points in their achievement lists. That it'll go, stage 1, 95%, stage 2, 55%. And like we've said, there will always be a point in any game where the bleeding becomes very stable. But you want that to happen further into your game, as opposed to after the first 2 levels. Well, while you're remembering it, I looked up, just for the hell of it, I wanted to see about Celeste again and see where it's standing in terms of its achievements. Because like we've said, Celeste was heavily promoted for its assist mode, and having those options of letting players just, use them and break the game just to get through it. Left-handed rage. Oh, yes. Lefties too, right? Lefty right here. So, when I look at Celeste and people are telling me that it's such an accessible game and it's so fantastic, when I look at the list here for how many people who've actually finished the game, it is at 7.1% of the fan base. And you can argue, of course, that people will say, well, I got my fill of the game early. But that's not what you want to hear as a developer. You want as many people to finish your game as possible. And by using achievements this way, you can start to see where these issues come in, or if you set them up just right. Because again, achievements like get all the healing items or get all the upgrades, that's not really a progression-based achievement. That's more of a completionist one.
Yeah. All right, now I have it.
Mm-hmm.
I got a question for you, Josh.
Mm-hmm.
In a live service game, how would you do achievements?
A lot of mobile and gacha-based games just really set them up to be kind of scaling-based achievements. Like, okay, you've unlocked 10 characters. Now you've unlocked 20. Now you've unlocked 50. Now you've unlocked 100. Your account was at level 5. Now it's at level 20, 50, 100. And while those, again, like progression based achievements like that are very effective as kind of like a carrot and the stick kind of design, they're not really, I think, that motivating. And it's a lot harder, I think, to do them in live service. Well, for one thing, anytime you add in new content, you also need to add in new achievements. So if you release, chapter 5 of your story, there should be achievements to go with chapter 5. And when you unlock chapter 6, 7, rinse and repeat.
What happens when the chapters cycle out?
Well, you can always have those achievements come back when those chapters come back in.
But what if they never, cycle back in the case of like Magic the Gathering? I mean, the Black Lotus from the set 1 is never coming back.
That's kind of, again, like a bad example of achievements. You want to make sure that your achievements are eventually achievable by everyone. Like we've said when it comes to like Kickstarters and having, exclusive content. Nobody wants to buy a game that they can only play 95% of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you don't want to do anything specific like that won't be able to be achieved later.
Mm-hmm. And again, if you're going to...
It's a real challenge.
It's a challenge to get an achievement that is literally impossible to get in your game. There's a hardcore challenge.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like again, like if you're going to have like time or seasonal based content, when it comes back, have those achievements available. Like, and again, like from a design standpoint, that's actually good development as well. You don't want to design content that is literally only available for 2 weeks and then it's never seen ever again.
Or what if it's available for 2 years and then it's never, not never seen again, but never seen again in the main play space? Because we see like all the CCGs follow this route because of balance.
Yeah. But cards and achievements are two different things. It will come down to designing achievements that aren't reliant on cards that cannot be attained anymore.
Yeah, you would. So does that mean they'd all have to be like general achievements?
Or it could be if you have like story-based campaigns, or like Hearthstone does with having these like those bite-sized episodes that they release, tying the achievements to them as opposed to getting or using those cards. I guess, like, here's a question for you. What do you think about achievements in, like, deck builders or in, like, kind of randomly or procedurally generated games that rely on very specific combinations? Like, Slay the Spire had one, like, get the first class to, like, 50 strength or 50 power. Like, unless you are stupidly lucky in terms of how things lay out, you're never going to get that achievement.
Yeah, I don't like that. That is any achievement that is reliant on luck is a bad achievement.
Mm-hmm.
Because RNG can hate you, and you play the game for 10 billion hours. That you play the game from every second, from the time you wake up to the time you go to bed. From the time you were 1 year old to the time you die, and you still don't get it.
Mm-hmm.
You could, have your brain put into a jar, and you still play that game for millions of years, and you still don't get that achievement because RNG does not like you.
Mm-hmm.
And humanity ends before you ever get that achievement.
Yeah,
That's not a good achievement.
No,
achievement should be achievable.
That's the tagline.
Otherwise, it would be, huh?
That's our tagline for the episode this week.
Achievements should be achievable.
Mm-hmm.
Then, if they aren't, then they're not achievements. They're unachievable.
Humanity ends achievement. There's the downer for this week.
Yeah. When humanity ends, everybody will get this achievement.
Mm-hmm.
Well, see, when you put that achievement into your game and then AI sees it, then they will actively they'll become the new achievement hunters.
There you go. That's how Terminator began.
Because somebody put humanity ends as achievement in one of their games.
Mm-hmm.
And Google seen it.
Now, here's a question, and this is something that I want to ask you, and I want to ask the audience. If there's one company that's been kind of the outlier when it comes to achievements, it's been Nintendo. Nintendo, as we famously know, is very slow when it comes to kind of adhering or changing to what are the current trends of the industry. And they are, at the moment, I think, like the only major company that has no real achievement design in their games or in their systems. I don't think you can even get achievements on the Switch shop or your Switch profile. So, I guess my question for everyone is, do you think Nintendo is leaving money on the table by not having or coming up with their own form of achievements?
I don't know. It's hard to tell because Nintendo is such an oddball.
Mm-hmm.
With Nintendo being that oddball, I could see it having no effect on them.
Mm-hmm.
I could see adding it in could cause a negative for them or a positive. It's hard to tell because they are such an oddball, such a oddity in the industry.
Yeah.
It's surprising that such an oddity is pretty much right at the top.
Mm-hmm. So here's something that the chat did not pick up on this, and I'm curious if anyone watching this recorded did. That when I said Nintendo doesn't have achievements in their games, that is kind of a half-truth. Because if you look at Smash Brothers, Smash does have achievements. They're just not listed on your profile. The game has an entire checklist of things for you to do, which unlocks new things.
You mean the trophies?
Yep.
Yeah.
And this is something that, again, as I've said, people will... This is, I think, the best examples of achievement design when they are integrated directly into the game. If you look at my thumbnail for the stream or the video you're watching this recorded, I, of course, included the Doom Marine, or Doom Guy. And in Doom Eternal, when you go to the Fortress of Doom, all the albums, all the toys that you collect show up in that fortress. And this is something that I've talked about before, the idea of having a trophy room in your game to display the various achievements. And while I don't think that may be feasible for every developer, that to me is kind of like the high end of having good achievement design in your game.
Achievements serve no purpose other than, as to the consumer, other than bragging rights. Unless you actually entertain them with the achievement. Or give them a way to look at it with a trophy room. Other than that, there's no use of them. There's still no use in the trophy room, but it can increase enjoyment.
Another game that I put on my thumbnail, of course, is The Binding of Isaac. And The Binding of Isaac is an example I always bring up when we talk about achievements. Because of how Edmund kind of came at it from the reverse way. Normally, the achievements are put in as kind of, I finished my game, and now I'm going to come up with a crazy list of things for people to go for. In a blog post that Edmund wrote, this was like a long time ago, he was talking about how he was coming up with all these ways of creating, the additional progression, the new items, the new bosses, biomes, etc., and he wanted a way to track them. But at the same time, he was also he was stumbling upon the idea of, how the hell am I going to make achievements for the Binding of Isaac? And in like that moment of just like everything clicking, he took his entire secrets list and turned that into the achievements for the Binding of Isaac. And in a way, in a weird way, it worked really well. And this is again a case, or this is probably one of the more unusual examples of it, because the Binding of Isaac right now has 637 achievements. I'm sure there's somebody out there who has all of them as well. But this was a way of really, integrating everything together from a gameplay, a progression, and from an achievement standpoint.
Yeah, which is not doable in every game. Every game is different, so you have to figure out the best way that you can do that in your game.
Mm-hmm.
And some games are easier than others. Live service is definitely a challenging one, to say the least.
Yeah. And speaking about that, the other game that's on my thumbnail, which I'm very sure most of you and most of our audiences have no idea who that character is from, the woman next to Isaac, is as a character from an Artifex Mundi game. And Artifex Mundi, they make kind of the highest class of the hidden object games. Stuff that it's kind of one part puzzle game, one part adventure, and then that, find the object. And their audience consists of casual gamers. They have a large female audience for a lot of their games. And they have achievements in them. And going back to what Shark has said about, knowing who your audience is and building your achievements around them, their achievements, again, kind of swing in both ways in terms of, okay, here are your general ones, and then we have a few challenging ones. But even their most challenging achievements... No, there's a lot of men who will play those casual games as well. They just said that their audience consists largely of women. But their achievements are designed to be completable by everyone. Yes, there's going to be people who they don't care about completing an Artifex Mundi game, without using any hints. But they do have achievement there. As we've said, their achievements are achievable.
So here's a question for you in chat. What do you think about achievements that you have no idea what they are? They're the mystery ones. They're the hidden ones.
I had a feeling someone was going to bring those up. And I don't know, I'm not a fan of those. And what Shark is referring to, for those of you who don't know, that when you look on Steam, some developers will just literally list every single achievement and the requirements for them. Other developers will have hidden ones that it will say, this game you found 20 achievements, but there's 15 hidden. And the hidden ones can mean anything. It could be, date a random character, beat this level, be a fire level without using fire protection. And they're often the ones that are completely against how somebody would play the game normally. And and I do that as well, Tommy. I've done that a lot. And I don't know, I don't like those. As we've said, like, you have to give the player some idea of what that achievement is. Like, if you have an achievement in your game that is, whistle Beethoven's Fifth Symphony above a waterfall at exactly 9 p.m. on a Thursday, and we're going to give you an achievement, yes, that's achievable, but how many people will ever know what that achievement is?
It's not achievable for the people who do not go up and look it up on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
And the one person who gets lucky and does it on their own. Yeah. Besides those people, it's not achievable.
Yeah. And some developers will argue that, like, having achievements that are kind of like you're almost predicting that the player is going to do something weird. Like, throw objects in the hoop in Half-Life 2 with the gravity gun. Like, that's okay, but again, I think with achievements, this is one of those areas, like with tutorials and onboarding, you don't want to be mysterious about.
Is how many achievements is too little or too many?
I think, like, from my own experience, that I would say less than 5, maybe less than 10 is too little. Like, there are some games who will just have literally, like, 1 or 2 achievements. It could just literally be achievement, beat the game. That's it. And as we've said, the 2 main goals of achievements when it comes to designing them, one should be to track how people play your game, and 2, motivating people to play your game.
I hate games that, like every like 2 minutes you got an achievement. Every 2 minutes you got achievement.
Go to the
It
option
just gets
menus, get
annoying.
achievement. Yeah.
Yeah. Open option menu. Oh, I remember a game that did that. Oh, I was like, no, no.
Change your video settings. You get achievement. I think El Gordo has it right with it depends on the game. Like, if your game is built on like a level by level format, you can have an achievement after you beat a level. If your game is, a 40-minute title about collecting important MacGuffins, you can have an achievement after every MacGuffin. Again, it really comes down to what systems are available. Like, anything can have achievements to it. Even a game like chess, even tic-tac-toe, we could have achievement lists for that. And it can work, but you have to be, again, understanding what your gameplay loop is and what are kind of the rewards. Like, what are the dopamine rushes for playing your game? And you can tie achievements to that. Again, going back to the gacha example, gacha games are about pulling new characters. So if we attach achievements to that, that can go so much better. And let me see. I won't get to Tony Slav's question, but I also want to ask this question to you, Shark. What do you think about tying currency or tying, some extended factor to your achievements? Because another thing that we see from mobile and gacha-based games is that when you get an achievement, we're going to give you premium currency on top of that. And I see this, it's kind of, I think, a little scummy, it's a little manipulative, but I think that's also a very effective way to get people to do achievements.
So you're talking about rewarding achievements.
Yes.
For
beyond just having it like as a on trophy or on a icon. Saying that if you do this, we're going to give you 100 premium currency.
I can see that both being good and bad.
Mm-hmm.
Like it would all depend on the financial model of the game, but like at its core, assuming that the game itself is not abusive, I could see that being a good thing because you're rewarding people for playing more of your game that is enjoyable for them, adding to their enjoyment. But at the same time, if your game is a Skinner box kind of thing and just horrible, it's a way to more Skinner in that box kind of thing and just totally, rip the crap out of people.
Skinnerception?
Huh?
Skinnerception?
Yeah. And it's one of those things that, used the right way, it can be really positive. It can have a really positive effect. But used the wrong way, it can have a really extremely negative effect. And, and I think that even if you're using it as a positive effect, you have to limit how much you do it because you don't want people to feel committed to have to go and get all of them. You want, in order, you want to have the reward low enough that people are like, I'm fine with missing that. but you have to have it, high enough that, people were like, yeah, actually doing that would be interesting,
Mm.
let
Like
me go check that out, kind of thing. And I like that idea, but you have to implement it very, very carefully.
Yeah, like in the mobile game I was playing, that Princess Connect title, whenever they have a limited time like story event, the story event comes with, let's say, 10 missions, and then completing each mission gets you 20 of the premium currency. So that if you do those 10 story missions, you are guaranteed to get 200 premium currency. Now, 200 premium currency in Princess Connect still sucks. You need 1,500 per pool for the gacha, or for a 10 pool. But it is a way of giving free players that extra motivation to keep playing or to do these limited time events.
Yeah. Well, you definitely don't want it. I don't think you want any of that tied to limited time. If
Hmm.
you're going to give a reward for it, it needs to be permanent.
The Civilization has those achievements: win games with this nation on this difficulty. I like it. I don't know how much I like the difficulty side, but I do like having achievements that kind of push the player to do something different. Like if your game is built on 7 classes or 7 factions or whatever, having an achievement for each one of those factions, it's a great way to get somebody to try something they wouldn't normally do. Like in a lot of RPG based games, they may have, beat the game as an archer, beat the game as a mage, beat the game using fire magic or ice magic or one hand melee or whatever. And a lot of people, myself included, when we play games, once we found that one thing that we like, we're not going to switch. Or we're not going to switch without a reason to switch. And having those achievements that are tied to different play styles, I think that's a very effective motivator, and again, it's a really good reason or purpose for achievements. What do you think, Shark, about, and to Chad as well, what do you think about games that have achievements that are difficulty tiered? So let's say you have beat the game. So you have beat the game on easy, beat the game on normal, beat the game on hardcore, beat the game on nightmare, beat the game on Josh masochism difficulty. It's the same achievement, but it's basically quadrupled or even multiplied by 6 or 7 times per each achievement.
I think that in most cases, that's a bad idea.
Mm-hmm.
But in one particular case, I could think that that would be a good idea. And that would be the case of the original Diablo 2, to
Mm-hmm.
where when you beat, normal mode, that's when it unlocked Nightmare. And
Mm-hmm.
Nightmare wasn't you're starting over.
It's
Nightmare
New
was a
Game Plus.
continuation of your campaign going forward.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you beat Nightmare, you would go to Hell, and then you would continue from your Nightmare play and go on to it. So it is, I mean, that's less difficulty and more progression. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, it is technically difficulty, but it's technically progression. And I think that kind of thing works. But when it's just you know here's the exact same thing, go play it over again.
Mm-hmm.
No, I don't care if it's 500 achievements for playing normal 500 times. If I enjoyed it the first time, but I don't want to play again, I'm not going to be motivated to play it 499 more times.
Mm-hmm. And to Algoro's comment, definitely, like, if you're going to have achievement or difficulty tied achievements, if I play on hardcore, I better get all the achievements below that. That's one of these that That's one of those things that really drives me crazy. Where it's like, yes, I beat the game on nightmare. Now you want me to replay it on normal. I have to replay on easy. I have to replay on casual. I think we'll wrap things up for this week's episode. But if you enjoy things, be sure to leave a comment. If you have suggestions for future topics, let us know.
Yep. And make sure you lick the smash button and smash the like button on both Josh's and my channel. And check the link. Check the description down below. There's links to both of our YouTube channels, both of our Discord channels, Twitter, all that stuff. Join our Discords. There's a lot of community and good environment over on Josh's Discord. And there's Neon Continuum, and you get to play test it over on mine, which you can have some fun with that.
Mm-hmm.
Which we're going to have another one this coming Saturday. So be on the Discord for this coming Saturday at 2 p.m. Central Time.
And if you're interested in watching these shows live, we stream them Sundays, starting around 4:30 ET. And if you want to catch our indie games store page review show, Indie Inquiries, that is streamed Thursdays, starting around 3:30 ET. So
you're too used to the early thousands with the taped.
Yes. So, come back for our daily discussions on game design here and on game wisdom, where some of the art and science of games. Until next time, take care.